So, when you were younger, did you know what you wanted to be in life?
I didn't know what I wanted to do at all, to be honest with you guys. All I knew as a kid is that I had like a really vivid imagination. I think being in Virginia, because we didn't have as many options as someone in a bigger city, you just don't even consider the fact that you could do or be whatever you wanted to be. And that to me, that's the flaw in the system, because somehow our teachers were telling us that we could be anything we wanted to be, but it didn't resonate with me at all. I never, it's like that goes in one ear and out the other. It's like, you don't even consider it to like blow it off. It just in one ear and out the other. So I just remember always being curious. And so that's what kept me on the path of just sort of exploring, the arts, as in music and visual arts.
Yeah. So the next question is, how did you convince yourself to take that first big step to do what you wanted to do instead of what people were telling you to do?
Well, I remember being in high school for 20,000 cajillion years. When we were given the opportunity, a lot of my teachers, of course, because they weren't really well versed in like the music industry, as it was a foreign business to their area. They're like, well, make sure you get your education, and that they were right about. But they went a little bit beyond that. It went more toward the side of, and besides, that only lasts for this long or that long, and I'm up here talking to you guys right now, so it just goes to show you what curiosity can do for the individual. If you're curious, you'll keep chasing it. That's why, the mantra for Kidult is feed your curiosity.
Yeah. So, where does your inspiration come from? Fashion, music, art, everything?
Again, it's that C word. For me, I just wanted to know about different things. I wanted to know about art. I wanted to know about different, various types of music and how it affected people. And I had no idea that my band teacher, when he wanted us to play rhapsodies and concertos and overtures, and they were fun. And we played Something Is Coming, and we played Flight of the Bumblebee. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is fun, but I just want to play something with like big drums, and as it was the early 90s. And he was like, I'll let you play that if you can write it out. And so it was those type of things that sort of armed me for my future, because it made my taste in music diverse. And so that's kind of like why when it comes to my inspiration, it's like I can't really say that my inspiration was exactly my own. It was kind of influenced by some of the things that was being shoved and pushed on me. Like, no, you have to know how to play this. No, you have to know how to play that. So once you get into those, those little pockets of information, and that mode of diversity, it starts to make you curious about other things.
Yeah. So, what do you do when you don't know what's next?
I think I spend 50% of my time, again, just exploring different things, to just do it because it piques my interest. But I think the other 50% of the time, I'm influenced by what I've done and how much further I want to take it. So from there, you start to build these ideas up on this side. Like, okay, because this is your right side, right? So these are the things that are like a little bit more concrete and a little bit, where it requires the vision to build. So you're more like an architect over here. Over here, you're pioneering and you're discovering. That's kind of like how it works.
Yeah. Louder? All right. Okay. So, what advice would you give to a kid who comes from nothing?
Well, let's define what nothing is.
Yeah.
When you say that you come from nothing, you're saying I come from nothing. Like nothing. Do you know what nothing is? Nothing is a void. Nothing is deep space with no stars. Nothing is, it's not possible for you to exist in nothing. So there's no such thing as nothing. It's all relative. So when you say, I was just explaining this to an old friend the other day who was saying, I have it so hard, it's so tough, and it's so crazy, and, I don't have anything. Well, sure you do. You have the same things that Bill Gates has. Because just like him, when he dies, you know what you're going to take with you? That's exactly right. So while the apartment may smell funny, while there may be pests and rodents, because that's what people generally relate to nothing, right? Come from nothing. And the car is a Hyundai, if there is a car. Or there's bus tickets, or train and free lunch. Nothing, right? It's not true. Imagine the people who live out in remote villages that have never heard of the iPod. But they're happy. And they would argue with you when you tell them that they have nothing. Nothing is a perception. So if your reality is merely just your perception and a perspective, these things are interchangeable. So first, you need to, when you say you come from nothing, you should probably reevaluate that and think about it. Because if you're not cancer stricken and you don't have AIDS and you have your legs and your fingers, I'd say you have a bigger chance as you have a huge advantage over people who are amputees who are really doing good in life, and people who have had AIDS for 10 years who are really succeeding, and people who have cancer that are fighting every day, but still they are working at the things that they love to do in life. I would say you have a little bit more than what you thought was nothing.
That's true. So what should you tell yourself when you failed at something or something didn't go the way you thought it would?
We all have egos, and it's okay to have a sense of self-awareness and identity, but it's not okay to have an ego, because what an ego does is, the ego is a funny entity within the human brain. It is on your side when you are doing great. But have you ever noticed when you think you failed, it's the ego in your mind that tells you it's so bad. Everyone's looking at you. You start to sweat across your forehead, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. The whole entire world is watching. And none of it is true. When you're doing great, you shouldn't listen to that voice. When you're not doing as great, you shouldn't listen to that voice, because it's not good. When you're doing great, it's going to get you hooked on that feeling, so that when you come down, because life is a roller coaster. There's valleys and peaks. When you hit that valley, if you can't deal, then you won't make it. So for me, I would say, first off, get rid of the ego. And then I would switch the word failure for lesson. It's like we've put together, well, not we, actually, Mimi Valdez and her team have put together this conference. And this is our first attempt, but we couldn't help but get you guys in the room because we didn't want to waste any more time. We got like 500 kids here that are going to go out and make a huge difference as soon as they leave this place, hopefully. But you know what? We took a risk because there are cracks and there are holes, and that's not failure. It's useful information for the future. All successful corporations do that. It's called R&D. So you don't have failures. You have research and development. So you just have to change your perspective. There's no such thing as a failure.
It's true. So how important are test scores as compared to confidence and social skills?
GPAs are measurements. It's a unit of a measurement of what you know up to that moment. Once you take the test, even Mr. Steve Perry can tell you that, well, that was what you did that day. And because you took that test, you now have an advantage. You have a way of measuring